Well, hello, everyone. It's Dr. Tom. It is 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and what time is it? It's 6:30 in New Delhi, 6:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I am up and here to talk to you. Let's see if I think I'm live. You know, it's always weird when I start this thing off. It looks like Charmin. Charmin, you're the first on. Hello there. Good day to you. I've just woken up to do this, and I'm here to talk about the International Symposium on Wheat-Related Disorders that begins tomorrow. So I'm going to start. Terry says, hello, Rockstar. Oh, thank you. That wakes me up. That wakes me up. You know, it's been quite an experience to be here. We've been here now for 3 days. We arrived on Tuesday, and the travel time and the adjustment, the jet lag, and all of that has been dramatic. But I'm glad to be here now, so I want to talk a little about this and answer any questions that you guys might have. So I'll just tell you the story of how this all began. Oh, there's the first little heart that comes. You know, it's those little hearts and those thumbs ups and things that just keep me going once we get started here. So it's nice to see that. I know I'm not just talking to myself. Mary Agnes has joined. Hey, MA. Lynn's in South Australia. Hi, Lynn. I'm coming to Australia from here, actually, from India. I'm coming to the Gold Coast for the first weekend in February to do a couple of presentations. Oh, look at the hearts coming in. Thank you. That really does wake me up. The jet lag has not been too bad. But so I was reached out to last June on LinkedIn by the director of the Celiac Society of India. And she said, would you chair our conference next January? And my response was, well, I don't know anything about chairing a conference. Why are you asking me? And she said, we want to talk about more than celiac disease. And that immediately got my interest. Then I knew that, oh, this is worth considering, because by 2026, as I looked into this, by 2026, India is going to be the most populous country on the planet. More people, the largest population of people, more than China, more than the US, it's going to be #1. And right now, 46% of all of the diabetics in the world are in India. And when you are in a car driving through town, I should talk about that in a minute, what an experience that is. But you look at people, so many people are carrying extra weight, and that's a high risk factor for blood sugar problems and diabetes. It's not too difficult to understand why this is such a problem. Guys, I see that my power is not working, and I'm at 17%. So hang on a minute. Hang on while I work on this power thing. I'll be right here. Just a minute. Well, I think I've got it. I hope I do. We'll see in a minute. Oh, Kirsten's on. Hi, Kirsten. So 46% of all the diabetics in the world are in India. And, you know, what that means is that what happens in India is going to affect the entire world. The healthcare of India is going to affect the entire world. So if we can do something to help them, to help the people of India to understand more about where some of the mechanisms of diabetes come from, then we can have a huge impact here. So I said, yes, I will do this. And why do I say that? Is because wheat-related disorders have a huge impact on your blood sugar level. Some of you may not know this, but a slice of whole wheat bread triggers the production of more insulin in your body than a candy bar. Every time you have whole wheat bread. Well, I thought whole wheat bread is good for me. Well, it's healthier for you in some ways than white bread. There's no question about that, but it's still bread. And bread triggers, your body sees bread as pure sugar. There's vitamins, there's minerals, there's fiber in it. There's lots of good things in bread, but there's a lot of things that are not so good either. And when you weigh the pros and cons of both, the studies are really clear now that for those people that have a sensitivity to a sugar problem, you eat bread, you make your sugar problem worse. That's not true for everyone, but it's when you're on the threshold and you really can't take much more insult. When you eat bread, you make your blood sugar worse. That's pretty funny because I was a baker. Believe it or not, I was a baker when I was 20, 21, 22 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I had hair down here and beard and all that, and hippie in Ann Arbor back in the late 60s and early 70s. But I baked this bread. It was just incredible bread. It was unyeasted, but it would rise. It would take 24 hours to make this bread. And we were very famous for this bread. People would come from all over to buy a loaf. And it'd come out of the oven, and I'd slice off a piece while it was still hot. I'd pour honey on it, sliced bananas, and peanut butter. Well, the peanut butter went first, and then the honey, and then the bananas. And it was just so delicious, and it was a blood sugar time bomb. It was just the worst thing you could possibly do to throw your sugar out of balance, right? And back in the 70s, I had a lot of problems with hypoglycemia as a result. And that was a big buzzword in the 70s and 80s, low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, that a lot of people were talking about it because a lot of those symptoms were evident. We were trying to be healthy, eating lots of carbs, lots of complex carbohydrates, whole wheat bread, not white bread, brown rice, not white rice, things like that, which in general is good for you, in general. But wheat is a problem for most people, and that's what we're here to talk about. So I said, yes, I would do this. I would do this conference. And so I've invited friends of mine and fellow colleagues from around the world, and all of them have arrived. There's a couple arriving today. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride from England, the founder of the GAPS diet. And her story is quite remarkable. She was a practicing neurologist, and her young daughter developed autism after a vaccination. And so she immediately dove into the literature to see, how can I help my daughter here? And she learned so much that just shocked her. She never learned this in medical school. They didn't teach this, but what she learned was that the gut had such an incredibly important role to play in the development of brain dysfunction, in this case, autism. And she founded the GAPS diet and the GAPS approach to looking at healthcare issues. And she has over 1,000 doctors now that are certified all over the world in the GAPS protocol. And it's an excellent, excellent protocol. So she's here. Dr. Rodney Ford, my old friend from New Zealand. This guy is the guy who began first talking about a sensitivity to wheat outside of celiac disease in the 90s. He's a pediatric gastroenterologist and board-certified allergist in New Zealand. And he would see so many of his kids that if he put them on a wheat-free diet, they got better from many, many different conditions, irrespective of whether they tested positive for celiac disease or not. Didn't matter. He would put them on a wheat-free diet, and we were together last night. We did a press conference yesterday afternoon, and the largest newspaper in India, they had a team of 4 reporters that came and a photographer, and they just kept asking questions of us as to why is wheat a problem, and their jaw dropped again and again as they learned more about the science behind wheat and why it's the problem that it is. So Professor Ford was talking about that, and he said, and he answered the question, who should be checked for a sensitivity to wheat? And the answer was anyone who is sick. if your body is not working well, then you should find out if wheat is contributing to your body not working well. And that sounds so general. So come on, give me a break here. No, really, when you read the science, it becomes clearer and clearer that if you pull at a chain, the chain breaks at the weak link. You know, so one end, the middle, the other end, your heart, your brain, your liver, your kidneys, wherever your weak link is, and wheat pulls on the chain. Wheat causes inflammation for everyone, for everyone. So Dr. Ford answered the question, is it anyone who is sick? And the reporters kept asking, what about this? And what about this? And why this? And why that? And they finally, they got it. And they said, Mike, their eyes popped out of their head. They didn't know any of this. And they said, well, where is wheat besides bread? And when they learned it was chapatis, which is a common food here in India, and the other foods, I don't know the names of the Indian food, you'd see them go, oh, not this, not again, oh my gosh. And they found out that wheat is a primary staple for most of them in the room, that they were eating wheat multiple times a day, every day. And so, well, what if, just what if the science is correct and wheat causes inflammation for everyone, and inflammation is the mechanism that causes what you've got, then might it make sense that if you stop wheat for a while, you reduce the inflammation, and the result may be that you get better? And they couldn't argue with that. And one of the reporters said that her wife or her husband had rheumatoid arthritis, and he heard about this, so he tried going wheat-free, and in 2 weeks, his pains were dramatically reduced, and he could walk without pain, and he's reduced and reduced and reduced, and he eventually stopped his medication, and his rheumatoid arthritis is in complete remission. And the people just looked because they knew her husband, and he said, yeah, he's not on any meds now. So it was a marvelous event. It was really marvelous. So if you guys have questions about wheat, you can throw them up here. I think I can see the questions. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of them. I thought it would scroll down, but it's not. So as I move around, oh, thank you, Mary Agnes. Very nice of you to say. And Sophia's here. And Manuela from Australia, Sydney. As I mentioned earlier, Manuela, I'm going to be on the Gold Coast of Australia, the Sunshine Coast, the first weekend in February, and that's for the Nutritional Therapy Association. So you might be interested in that. Kristen's here. Dahlia, Adru, hi. Hi, Dahlia. It's nice to see you here. Thank you. And Cindy and Uzma says, please comment why celiacs have severely low energy, taking all vitamins but extreme fatigue all the time. That's a really good question. The most common symptom of a reaction to foods, a food sensitivity, and the inflammation that comes from that, the most common symptom is fatigue. And it usually is brain fatigue and body fatigue. But the most common is your brain and brain fog, and think your brain is just not functioning properly, there's not enough energy coming up. And total fatigue is very common. Anemia, Uzma, is really, really common with any type of wheat-related disorder, not just celiac disease, but one of the doctors from India who's going to be presenting this weekend is going to talk about the blood disorders that occur with wheat-related disorders, the blood problems that can occur. And anemia is at the top of the checklist. And when you're anemic, you're very tired. So certainly you want to check and see if your iron levels are low, very common. And why does that happen? It's because the inflammation in your intestines does not allow your body to absorb iron. So people who take iron, they're still tired. They take iron and they're tired. It may not be being absorbed. Now, a slam dunk to that diagnosis is if you do an IV of iron. So they give you iron through a drip, and if you feel better in a day or two after an IV of iron, well, then you know that your gut's not absorbing from the vitamins that you're taking, and the lack of absorption is usually because of the inflammation in the gut. And when your gut's inflamed, you just don't absorb your nutrients. It's not possible to absorb nutrients the way that you should be. You absorb some, obviously, or you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be alive, but there's highly compromised. So that's a most common trigger. Mia Jones is in North Wales. Well, hello. I popped up on your Facebook. Okay, well, good morning or good afternoon. It's morning here in New Delhi. You know, guys, I got to tell you that I've heard about the traffic in New Delhi, but I've never experienced it. You know, I'm a good driver, and I was born and raised in Detroit, and I love to drive. And but this traffic, there will be 3 lanes going in one direction, but there will be 5 lanes of cars. They don't pay any attention to the lanes, the lines on the road. They're driving, and they'll drive in the middle of the line so that your car is half in one lane and half in another lane, and then they cut over. And I mean, they're within inches, and there's lots of scooters and motorcycles that are going in and out between the cars. It's just remarkable to see. I've never seen such flagrant ignoring the traffic guidelines. They're all over the place. So it's nice in the back seat and let somebody else deal with it. This is one city I would not want to drive in. It's quite an experience to be in the back seat last night during rush hour traffic. Danny says, there's something growing out of your node. You mean nose? Well, okay, let's see here. Don't know what that is, Danny. Thanks for the heads up, though. Appreciate that. Whatever it is, hope it goes away. Let's see. Cindy says, oh, thank you, Cindy. I'm one of your medical heroes. You know, it's kind of awkward, you know, to have people saying things like that. But what I realize is that that's my job. You know, my job is just to share with you what I've learned. It's the way that I can help make the world a better place. So thank you so much. That's very kind of you. So this event that we're doing, it's a game changer. The Celiac Society of India had hoped for 200 attendees in person, and we're over 700 now. It's unbelievable. They've had to change the room a few times. Now they've got the largest room, plus they've got 2 other rooms, and they're going to have feeds with screens in the overflow rooms. And we've had over, what I saw yesterday, MA, maybe you can let me know, but it was 3,500 people who have registered for the live stream. So the live stream, and MA, if you're here, post some of the links if you would. So my goal, and I was warned that we may not be able to do more than 5,000 people on the live stream because the broadcast bandwidth may not be able to take more than that. So we know that we should be able to handle 5,000 just fine. And MA just sent me a message. We're over 3,500 now. Yeah, 3,500 opt-ins. So there's 2 ways that you can do this, and we'll post it here. And the live stream, the reason I like the live stream so much is that you can watch it anytime afterwards because it's yours. It's lifetime access. You'll have a link that you can watch this at any time. And there's going to be, I haven't even counted how many talks there are. This is our brochure, the handout brochure for the weekend. And here's the pictures of our speakers. Let's see, there's the screen there. There we go. So how many speakers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, and 5, 23 speakers that I've had to collect all of their PowerPoint presentations and all of their references. You know, I don't know how to do this, but it's been fun to meet everyone. And one of the key things that we're doing here, it's my idea, and I'm the chairman, so I get to say this, and we're doing it, is that all the references that the scientists and the doctors are using, all of the references, we're making them available to you. That when you register for the live stream, I'm putting all of the references in one PDF document that you can access, and If the articles are what's called open access, meaning when the authors wrote the articles, they submit it to the journal accepts it, the journal says, this is open access, everyone can read it. So if they're open access, they're free to us, they're free to you. And if they are not open access, then the link for the abstract will be there. And the abstract is the summary of what the article is all about. So they're all going to be there. And so far, I don't know, it's over 100, 150 articles so far. Dr. Fasano, Alessio Fasano, the chairman of the pediatric gastroenterology at Harvard's Mass General, he sent over 6 articles that he's published in the last 2 months. So the top articles the most recent articles that he's published. And it's really wonderful to see all these articles coming in. I'm making them all available to you. Why? Because my goal is that there's going to be a shock factor of what people are going to hear this weekend, this latest research. The shock factor, it's like, what? What? And there's no way for you to absorb all of this in a weekend. I mean, there's going to be 25 presentations, and you can't absorb all this, and you can't watch it all at the same time. And so the beauty of the live stream, it's actually better than the people in attendance in some ways, because you can watch it anytime you want. You can watch the first hour, the first 2 hours, and they say, oh, this is very good. Well, I don't have much time right now. Okay, I'll come back to it later. And then you'll be able to go back to it. You can watch another hour. You'll see the catalog, but the itinerary of all of the talks. Here's the itinerary of all the talks over the 2 days. And you say, oh, let's see. Oh, practical issues in non-biopsy diagnosis of celiac disease. Oh, okay. That means, you know, the pediatrician recommended a biopsy for my child. I'm not doing that. So, all right, if you're not doing a biopsy, what are your options for your kid? You know, and so we're going to present about that. We're going to present about the spectrum of blood manifestations in wheat-related disorders, meaning anemia, meaning the incidences of cancers, meaning infections, meaning a weakened immune system, so you keep getting colds and flus or infections. Then there's no way to listen to this all and remember it all. So when you register for the live stream, and Mary Agnes will put the links in here, you have access to it and all of the references. And the other option that we had, because some people say, well, you know, I don't know if I want to do that. So we came up with the idea, okay, let's let everyone who wants it have the first 4 or 5 sessions free. You know, check it out. Check it out. You're welcome to watch the first section for free. And the first section there's a lighting ceremony. It's a tradition in India that you call in the deities to watch over and protect the Congress and help us all to help our fellow man. You know, some more of a religious tone, I guess. And I've never experienced this before, but it's part of their culture. So that's what we're going to do, is the lighting ceremony. Inaugural lamp lighting ceremony. It sounded pretty cool. And then I'm giving a talk in that first section for the welcome address, and then wheat-related disorders from A to Z in overview. And so I'm going to talk about what are the manifestations of when you have a problem with wheat. How might it manifest? Is it just celiac disease? No, it's recurrent miscarriages. Or is it just celiac disease and recurrent miscarriages? No, it can be migraines or seizures, epilepsy. Is it just celiac disease and recurrent miscarriages and epilepsy? No, it can be arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. Is it just celiac disease and recurrent miscarriages and rheumatoid arthritis? No, it can be liver disorders or kidney disorders. So you're going to hear all that from me. So that's in the first section. So we're going to put both links here so that you can just watch the first part if you want, and then you say, oh, this is pretty cool. I actually would like to learn more about this or have access to all of it. And then you can register at that point for the rest of it. Or for those of you that know, you know, I don't have a lot of time on Saturday to watch this, but I really want to hear it. I want to hear some of these talks. I want to hear Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride or Professor Aaron Lerner from Germany. This guy is one of the guys, the first to write about what's called microbial transglutaminase. Now, transglutaminase is a blood test that identifies if you're a celiac or not, a card-carrying celiac. But there is this transglutaminase that is made in the food industry. And what they do, a nickname for it is meat glue. Now, why do they do this? Why do they call it that? They take cuts, when they're making steaks and they're chopping up steaks and making hamburger and all that, all of the leftover stuff they've got, all of the leftover cuttings and scraps, they put it on the video I saw, they put it on a tray and they sprinkle microbial transglutaminase on it, and then they roll it up like a sushi roll. The microbial transglutaminase, they're enzymes, and they start to digest the meat. So what happens is these meat fibers start to get digested a little bit and broken down, and because it's rolled up tight, when you take the wrapping off of it, and they've got this roll, and they slice it, and then they sell it as filet. And in some supermarkets, you buy filet mignon to take home and have a nice dinner, and it looks like a nice piece of meat. Oh, nice color, all of that. It's end products that they've used microbial transglutaminase on. It's like, what? And they do that with chicken. They do that with fish. Fish cakes in Japan, it's really common to see that. Chicken, any meats, whether it's beef or chicken or lamb or fish, and they use this microbial transglutaminase on it, and then they sell it as filet. It's not filet, it's butt scraps and leg scraps and pieces of meat that they couldn't use in any other way. And you want to see a video on this that'll shock you? Go to Mercola.com. Mercola.com and type in meat glue, and then watch the video on. And this stuff is in your food supply chain every day. And so when you see that, now Professor Lerner, he's the guy that has been writing about this and identifying it for years. So he's here and he's going to talk about that meat glue, microbial transglutaminase. Now the problem with that, you eat that meat and it's got transglutaminase residues in it, and that triggers the reaction in your gut that looks just like celiac disease. And it actually can trigger the mechanism, so you start this whole process of gut-related symptoms from eating meat that you think you've got a wheat-related disorder. It's the same symptoms. They're just the same. So this is like, what? And there's no way to tell when you see the video. You buy a fresh filet that's real filet, that part of the animal, and then you buy the filet that's pressed from meat glue. You can't tell the difference when you look at it. I couldn't tell the difference. So, when I'm in supermarkets now and I look at some of this stuff, it's pretty remarkable to see. So in any event, we've got the links here. They should be here for you. They're also at theDr.com. Judith asked a question. A few weeks ago, I sent you a message. Please check it if you will have time. Thank you. Oh, Judith. Judith, I'm sorry, man. We get hundreds and hundreds of messages. I wouldn't know how to find what you're asking me for. Claudine says, I just got my GI map results today. My anti-gliden antibodies 248, and the range is 0 to 157. Does that mean I have an issue with gluten? Yes, it does. It means that your immune system is fighting wheat. Really good question. And there's no question, and the idea, body language never lies. It never lies. So when you have a test that says your immune system is fighting wheat right now, this is going on right now, it's time to stop wheat. And whatever your symptoms are, most people notice when they stop throwing gasoline in the fire that their symptoms start to go down. And of course, that's all elaborated on in my books, The Autoimmune Fix and You Can Fix Your Brain. Both of those books talk about that concept quite a bit. And Amy says, Claudine, you should get tested for celiac. Well, yes, but it doesn't matter if you have celiac or not. In terms of should you put attention on this, the answer is absolutely yes. And that's what this conference is all about, is that it's not just celiac, it's wheat-related disorders that are more important than celiac disease, because there's 1 out of 100 that get celiac disease, and Dr. Claudine Libert from Luxembourg is here, and he just published a study that shows 40 out of 100 have a problem with wheat, have a wheat-related disorder. 1 out of 100 have celiac, 40 out of 100 have a wheat-related disorder, and the symptoms can look identical. It can be anemia, it can be migraines, it can be brain dysfunction, it can be seizures, that it goes on and on in terms of the symptoms. So beyond celiac disease, beyond the gut, is the name of this conference. So this condition for Claudine and Amy's response be checked for celiac disease. That's important to check for, but it doesn't matter if you have celiac disease or not as to whether or not you address this, meaning going gluten-free. You have to go gluten-free. And you want to learn more just about the wheat aspect of all this. The Gluten Summit is on my website. We did the Gluten Summit where I interviewed 29 of the world leaders, the cardiologists, the neurologists, the gastroenterologists, about wheat and how wheat can affect you outside of celiac disease. And once again, that's what this weekend is about, that starts tomorrow. So yes, Claudine, you absolutely need to address that. Your body's talking to you. Let's see, Sophia says, are spelt and kamut flours the same as wheat? Yes, they are in the wheat family. Unfortunately, when you make antibodies to wheat, it doesn't matter if it's the new hybrid forms of wheat or the more ancient grains like einkorn or spelt or kamut, that the protein structures are similar enough, the antibodies will continue being made. When you make the antibodies to wheat, the danger is, because what happens is wherever the weak link is in your chain, you begin making antibodies to that tissue. It could be your thyroid, and your only symptoms are thyroid disease. Not that that's not, I don't mean only meaning they're small, but rather no gut symptoms. For every 1 person that has gut symptoms with a problem with wheat, there are 8 people that do not have gut symptoms. They have thyroid symptoms or brain symptoms or joint symptoms from a problem with wheat. Jane asks, I gave up wheat and my crippling knee pain went away in a week. Way to go, Jane. High five to you, girl. That's exactly the kind of response that we see hundreds and hundreds of times. And it's so great to hear for Jane, her crippling knee pain, she said. So crippling knee pain means, and it's gone in a week, means she can walk again. Very cool. Very glad to see that. LaDonna says, I'm still struggling with leaky gut and can't get under control. Any suggestions for supplements? Need help, please. Gluten-free for months and I'm at a loss. Way to go, LaDonna, for staying focused on it. That's the first step. There are many triggers of wheat is one problem, but it's not the only problem. For example, we always recommend gluten-free, dairy-free. Stop all the milk products, cheese, milk, yogurt, ice cream, because it's called cross-reactivity. You keep taking in dairy for 50% of people, they still make the wheat antibodies, that the body thinks you're still getting wheat. When the immune system gets activated to fight the dairy, you still continue fighting the wheat. So what I would recommend to you is do the discovery program with our team at theDr.com. That is where you get a half-hour consultation. You fill out the new patient questionnaire, and the results are that one of my team members just walks you through where might you start looking as to where are my problems coming from? Why does my daughter have this hard time? Or why is my husband feeling ... It doesn't matter what the ... is, but it's an exploration to find out where do we begin. That's the discovery program, is to discover where to begin. Lori says, thank you for all you and your loving, supportive wife. You guys rock. Oh, thank you. She's still sleeping on the other side of that door. It was a late night, but thank you, Lori. It's very kind of you. LaDonna says, sounds like, oh, it's much worse than LA traffic, LaDonna, much worse. LA traffic is just go, stop, go, stop, go. This is stop, go, cut, hit your horn. It's unbelievable here. I've never seen anything like the traffic here. In Rome, you hear about Rome traffic. Rome traffic doesn't have any link to New Delhi. This is the worst. So I see Mary Agnes has posted the links here. When you own the event, you can watch it at any time and you get to all the references. That's the big deal, because you download the references and you see the one that they're talking about and you print it out and you take it to your doctor and say, hi, I just heard a presentation from India by a world-class gastroenterologist. Would you read this article, please? Because Dr. Fasano from Harvard said, whatever caught you, would you read this article, please? And so I'm giving you all the articles, all of the references. This has never been done before at a conference. And I'm hoping it sets an example that will take off. And it's been my belief that every speaker, now I do that when I'm on stage, is I make all of the studies available. We have a team member, Lynn, that has developed the system to put it all together so it looks nice. We put a nice cover on it. You know, it looks like one of these covers, but all the links are there for you, so you guys can have access to that. Christine asks, is it normal to have a little yeast in the stool? No, it is not. I had a comprehensive stool test done, parasite ×3, good. The report of my test says it's not normal to have few found in my stool. Here are my results. Few yeast. So in samples 2 and 3, she had some yeast on. Yeah, it means there's a little bit of an overgrowth. It may be asymptomatic, not producing any symptoms right now, or it may be setting you up and you've got more problems. But no, it's not normal to have. Now that's just under the microscope. They just see it there. So that's not doing a deep exploration, and that usually will have an impact somewhere in your body. Oh, let's see. Amber says, I just finished your CGP program. Also bought a virtual ticket to the Wheats and Paul. Way to go, Amber. Thanks so much. Welcome to the CGP, the world of the CGPs, and look forward to seeing you. We have a Facebook page just for CGPs. When you guys have questions, the CGPs have questions, our team is there answering the questions for you about the patients you're seeing and the clients and where you might look for the next step. Manuela says, any chance to see you at the Gold Coast for a consultation? Oh, I'm sorry, Manuela. I'm only there for 4 days, and there's not time for that. Pauline says, can you address some info coming out that glyphosate is the culprit in celiac and wheat-related disorders? Yes. Glyphosate, no question, it's a problem. But the problem with wheat began accelerating long before glyphosate was on the scene. Glyphosate makes it worse. Glyphosate is not the trigger. The trigger is wheat itself, the proteins of wheat. But glyphosate makes it worse. Glyphosate knocks out the good bacteria in your gut, which makes your sensitivity to having an inflammatory reaction that much more. So glyphosate is not good, but it is not the cause of the increase. Studies are very clear about that. They looked from 1974 to 2011, and they saw the dramatic rate of increase. And it was consistently year after year after year after year after year, more and more and more. Glyphosate didn't come on the scene until 1996, 1997. And glyphosate made it worse. It does make it worse, but it's not the trigger. It's not the cause. So eating non-GMO wheats is not going to be better for you if you have a sensitivity to wheat. If you've crossed the line and you have a sensitivity, it does matter because GMOs make it worse. The glyphosate is a chemical that's used on the plants. GMO plants are grown to be glyphosate resistant. So now they can use more glyphosate, which is a pesticide and insecticide, on the plants, and the plants won't die because they're GMO resistant. They're glyphosate resistant. But now the glyphosate is on the food. So your broccoli will have glyphosate in it. Your wheat will have glyphosate in it. Your pumpkin seeds will have glyphosate in them. Your spices will have glyphosate in them unless they are GMO free. And that's why it's so important to be GMO free, because glyphosate makes it worse. But glyphosate is not the cause of the increase in people having problems with wheat. The cause of the increase for people having problems with wheat is, it's a book. It's called The Autoimmune Fix. And I talk about it in detail there. It's all the environmental triggers that we've been exposed to in the last 30 years. Never before has this happened in history. And let's see. Nasaya says, howdy from Arizona. Hey, hi, Nasaya. So what's the protocol getting rid of the yeast in the stool test? Oh, the gut. Oh, Christine. We always think, and we've been trained to think, if you've got this symptom, you take this pill. Or if you've got this, you take that. But it's not how our healthcare system works. Well, the system maybe, but it's not how our health works. If you've got yeast concentrations, why do you have yeast concentrations that are high? And what do I take to kill the yeast? It depends. They do sensitivity profiles. When we do the lab tests, we order the sensitivity profiles from the lab. What does that mean? They culture your yeast sample in 10 or 12 Petri dishes. Remember Petri dishes? So within 5 days, that Petri dish has got your name on it. There's the yeast growing, and that's from your sample. Then they expose it to different agents to see what's going to kill it. What's it sensitive to? And the report comes back and it says it's sensitive to this and this and this, but not to this and this. So don't use those things. Use the things that are going to work. So our team does this all the time. You can have your tests interpreted by our team if you wish, but there's no shotgun approach, Christine, to fix it. Amber says, oh, about the FACE group for CGP is great. I have celiac and hypothyroidism, just got my degree in holistic nutrition, way to go. So very excited to start this new career path and learn more from you. Way to go, way to go. Read The Autoimmune Fix and read You Can Fix Your Brain. And those two books, they give you such a big picture. And then the pearls are when you listen to experts for an hour talking about whatever topic they're talking about. Then you have a background from which to understand more of what they're saying. But this will be just fabulous for everyone who tunes in. A good percentage of the audience is general public. Lots of doctors are coming, but also a lot of the general public. Is it okay to go gluten-free versus bio? I'm not sure. Yeah, of course it's okay to go gluten-free. Meaning bio means organic. In Europe, they don't call it organic, they call it bio. And yeah, both of those are essentials. The gluten-free is essential when you cross the line and your immune system says you have a problem with wheat. And the way you find out is you do the wheat Zoomer test, or the best test that's available in your country. The wheat Zoomer is the best test out there, and you find that on our website. And many, many doctors now are using the wheat Zoomer to address the health condition they have. Okay, let's see. More comments? Okay. Well, guys, I can't say enough about this weekend that's coming up. It starts tomorrow. You've got two options. You can register for it and have access to all of the studies and all of the presentations at any time that you want. And you don't have to watch it tomorrow. You can watch it anytime you want. It's lifelong access. Or you can register and we'll send you a link to watch the first section. And the first section will be with me talking about wheat-related disorders from A to Z, an overview, and to give a big picture. And then a couple, the lighting ceremony and the welcoming address, and also the inaugural address by Professor Bhan, a very famous gastroenterologist here in India. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for this Friday afternoon, evening, for me, Saturday morning time together. And I will see you for our Facebook Live at its usual time next Tuesday, which is at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I don't know what time it'll be in India, but we'll be doing it from here. Okay, have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you tomorrow at the symposium. Thank you. Bye-bye.